Now seriously, you couldn't ask for a more perfect West Coast day than it was today. Not a breath of wind, not a cloud in sight. So I managed to convince the team that a visit to Lake Matheson would be well worthwhile, and wow, was it ever. Lake Matheson is just west of Fox Glacier Township and nestled in the foothills, so it's sheltered from the nearby Tasman Sea to allow a perfect mirror image reflection of Mount Cook and Mount Tasman behind. It's a road trip today as we make our way home from the wheels of Wanaka last weekend. So from Fox we head north up State Highway 6, over the Cook Saddle to Franz Josef Glacier, heading to Hokitika for the night. My original plan was to fly into Queenstown, attend the Wheels of Wanaka show and fly out on the Sunday night. And when I heard that all the chaps on the Land-Rover Series 1 enthusiast team were driving down and back up the west coast, I changed my mind and drove my Defender down to meet with them, with a very slim chance that I could film Series 1 Land Rovers driving up the west coast in perfect weather. What you're watching now really is a dream come true for me. From Fox Glacier, we did a quick stop at Franz Josef Glacier. After Franz, we stopped for morning tea at Okarita Lagoon, which is a coastal gold field where gold is still extracted straight off the beach. Now this takes a bit of explaining, so just bear with me. Yesterday, as we headed south of Haast, we passed through a small place called Hannah's Clearing, and Leon recalled an article about a Series 2 fire engine in the Classic Car magazine that was, at the time, still in the New Zealand Fire Service based at Hannah's Clearing. Some research revealed that it had the same chassis number as another Series 2 fire tender. Well, yeah, that's what it looked like anyway. We stopped for lunch at an old mining pit next to the town of Ross, and Neil wandered over to a couple of chaps working on a memorial to the Chinese miners next to the lake. It's a bit random, but Neil asked them if they happened to know what happened to a Series 2 fire tender from Hannah's Clearing. And yeah, you guessed it, they did. They think it might be in the Westland Industrial Museum next to the Hokitika Airport. Yep, right, that's it, lunch over, let's go. I did manage to slow the stampede just north of Hokitika, long enough for a quick photo opportunity outside the Mahinapua pub, but the engines were kept running.
Hello, little fella. You're a long way
We
from
got to the
home.
museum up by the Hokitika Airport just before they closed, but they were very happy to show us all around their collection. These old boys were right into their heavy metal and took much pleasure in showing us all their stationary engines, in particular a twin and a single-cylinder Ruston engine. This clip has to be heard to be enjoyed, so I'll stop my yapping, but I'll give you some info first. This clip shows a single-cylinder Ruston from the Wahapo sawmill near Franz Josef being started using compressed air. Once the engine is up to speed and running on fuel, he swaps over a couple of valves and turns the engine back into a compressor to charge the air tanks back up again, then flicks it back over to fuel again once charged. In this next clip, you can see a Blackstone engine that powered a generator for the Cowan sawmill at Dancing Creek near Haast. You can see he's priming up the oil pressure first before opening an air valve, and away it goes.
Yeah, he had low oil pressure. Tripping out. Oil pressure.
So after drooling over these engines for a bit more than just a while, Leon finally managed to drag us away to check the elusive Hannah's Clearing fire tender's chassis number. Yep, whoop whoop. Tomorrow our fellowship was to part ways, with Paul and Ellen to continue up the coast, while the rest of us to cut across the top of the South Island via Reefton to head towards the Cook Strait Ferry on Friday. So we all met up at Stomper's Bar in Hokitika for a farewell dinner. It was on our way out of the pub when we bumped into the chaps on the jet boat the day before on the Cascade, as they'd recognised Ellen's Series 3 parked across the street. Again, what's the chances, eh? The target today was to get as close to the Picton ferry terminal as possible for our night's stop, to make it an easy run on Friday morning to catch the 2 p.m. sailing across the strait. I've spent some time in the area of late, so I was our tour guide again today. First stop was the Kōwhirarangi Memorial. On the 8th and 9th of October 1941, Stanley Graham, a disturbed local farmer, opened fire on police and other locals. 7 men were killed or later died of their injuries. I'd seen the film Bad Blood and read the book Manhunt, and the book described a memorial to the shooting located in Canary, which I did find a few years ago, but on a visit to the area a couple of years ago, I was not able to locate it. On my way out to the Hukatika Gorge, I came across a massive memorial opposite the Kōwhirarangi Hall, and as it turned out, it was also outside the old Graham house. I was really pleased that such a tragedy had been suitably remembered, as opposed to the forlorn little tablet that I found outside the Canary Hall all those years ago. This new memorial to the victims was unveiled on the 8th of October 2004 and had been created from a large boulder from nearby Dietrich's Creek. Each person who died is commemorated by a bronze plaque. Our next stop was the stunning Hukatika Gorge, with its teal-blue glacial water and steep granite cliff faces. Last time I was here 2 years previously, the walk only went as far as the first beach access, but now it has an amazing second suspension bridge, creating a return path to the car park. My run of chance meetings continued when near the second suspension bridge, I bumped into the Olsons from the farm next door to ours in Cleveton, on an escorted bicycle tour of the coastal bike routes. I've said it before, what's the chances of that? After we left the gorge, I led the team on a loop tour of Lake Canary via Dorothy Falls, and then we headed north to Greymouth. In all the years I've been coming here, I don't ever remember seeing the coast this clear. So Leon's words were, make sure they don't stop for lunch here, it'll put us another hour and a half back. After Greymouth, we headed inland to Stillwater to visit Dutchie's Land-Rover graveyard.
You might as well turn around, Neil, before we rest drive.
Paul and Alan left the team at Stillwater to continue up the west coast to Nelson via Punakaiki and Westport. The rest of us headed east to Reefton, Inangahua, then down the Wairau and through to Havelock for the night. I have to admit I was feeling a bit knackered having been on the road almost continuously for 3 months, both with Oxford and with work, so I didn't hang around when it was time to leave and headed straight through to Havelock. I passed through the Wairau Valley back in November and captured a field of either canola or rapeseed in full bloom, but it looks a bit different this time of year. Driving down the upper Wairau Valley, maybe on the top side of the speed limit, and a ute came up behind me rather quickly. Must have been date night or free beer night at the local pub, but if I'm doing over 100 k's an hour, what speed do you think this guy's doing? I arrived in Havelock just on dark, just when the office was about to close, so I was able to grab everyone's keys before they locked up, and whipped across the road for a beer and a meal before everyone else arrived about an hour later. Friday. The mission today was reasonably simple. Don't miss the Cook Strait ferry and get home in one piece. So, spoiler alert, we achieved both of these key deliverables.
Yep, okay, we'll pull over.
Now you guys can keep going if you like. I'm just get some photos here on the point.
We decided to take the shortest route to Picton, which takes longer than the alternative due to the windy nature of the road following the coastline of the Marlborough Sounds. I can imagine the views are stunning, but for some reason the council have let all the trees grow so high along the route, you only get the occasional glimpse of the sounds as you pass small pull-in areas, which is very frustrating when you're trying to compile a touring video off a dash cam.
See, told you, Leon, chick magnets, mate. Land Rovers are just chick magnets.
Yeah, well, it hasn't quite worked for me.
Have you tried wearing a crop top while you're driving it?
No, it's been doing wrong.
Before we arrived in Picton, we all received a text from Bluebridge to say our crossing was delayed for another hour, pushed out to 3 PM. So we grabbed some food and caught up with Ian Butcher around at Whatamango Bay and checked out his amazing Land Rover collection, including a well fitted out Land Rover Series 2B forward control camper. We then caught up with another member of the fellowship, Rob Neal, back at Waitaha Bay, before racing back to the ferry, but hanging around for another hour before boarding at 3:30 PM. We disembarked in Wellington at 8:30 p.m. Peter decided to take the scenic route from the ferry terminal to the truck park, while I headed for the motorway.
Use any lane to turn right onto Waterloo Quay.
I must have been really focused on getting home, as the next video clip I shot was halfway up the North Island at Awakuni just before midnight. I stopped at Taumanui to top up the Defender's tank, as well as my own, and pressed on into the night as the weather started to close in the further north I got. I don't mind driving through the night, less traffic, and what traffic there is easier to see at a distance with the oncoming headlights. It's strange reflecting back now that my Oxford journey only spanned a total of 7 weeks, and I got to drive them 7 times. First in Auckland, then in Hamilton, over Grandview Station in Wanaka, and for the 4 parades at Wheels of Wanaka. It seemed much more than that. Perhaps Oxford has etched himself into my soul a bit more than I thought. This series of videos is a photo album of Oxford's time in New Zealand. Yes, I could have made these videos a lot shorter if I'd only shown the highlights, but for anyone watching this that wanted to be here with Oxford, or like me, wanted to experience more than just a series of 4-second bursts of mud and mountains, I hope these videos allowed you, for a brief time, to be here in New Zealand on Oxford's journey with us. So what happened to Oxford once we parted company in Wanaka? The day we were playing silly buggers south in the Cascade, Oxford was being loaded onto a truck and transported south to Armstrong Land-Rover in Dunedin for a week, and from there back north again to Christchurch. Oxford was finally shipped over to Australia on the 3rd of July 2021, 13 weeks after leaving Dunedin. I posted a request on my 2 Facebook pages, First Overland Expedition to New Zealand and the Land Rover Series 1 enthusiasts, as well as the Land Rover Owners New Zealand page, appealing for video footage, photos, or links that enthusiasts may want to share on this series of videos to complete and share Oxford's New Zealand journey to the world. It was very disappointing and surprising to receive not one single comment as a reply. I guess you'll have to Google Oxford on YouTube or Facebook to find out what he got up to in Wellington, Christchurch and Dunedin. On the 17th of August, I was working in the lower North Island and a single COVID case was discovered in my hometown of Auckland and the entire country was locked down. Yes, a single case, but I won't go into the politically driven stupidity here, but I had 48 hours to get home and 3 months later, New Zealand's largest city, Auckland, is still locked down with no one permitted by law to cross the border. Fortunately, I'd stockpiled parts for some larger projects on the Defender, Discovery as well as my Series 1, so I had plenty to get on with, albeit with no income. I was while pushing out a chassis bush on a rear suspension A-bar that I had an accident with a 25-ton press and nearly lost a finger, so Land Rover and farm chores were put on hold for a few weeks, so I had a good excuse to finish these videos off. It's hard to know where to start to thank people who helped out along the way. Naturally, a big thank you to Adam Bennett for sending Oxford to New Zealand. Rod and Ann Corbett, without their drive and determination, the Oxford Land Rover journey may not have gone ahead. Luke and Morgan at Jaguar Land Rover New Zealand for transporting Oxford and the Land Rover dealerships for hosting Oxford. Joanne Smith and Star Insurance for covering Oxford and New Zealand. The Wheels of Wanaka team for their support and assistance with the administration of the Land Rover Rally. Philip and Julian Avery for hosting the Land Rover Series 1 Enthusiast Run in Wanganui. Mark Warren, Nick Stewart, Andrew and Julia Thomas at Toranui Station for the Hareworth 0.5. The Wellington, Canterbury and Otago Land Rover Owners and Enthusiast Clubs for hosting Oxford events in their areas. And a special shout out to over 300 Land Rover owners that got in behind the tour.